We look at how Mazda has differentiated itself, not just from other Japanese car makers, but also within the entire automotive industry. Did you know that Mazda started out initially as a cork manufacturer? That was in 1920 in Hiroshima, Japan. Back then, they were known as Toyo Cork Kogyo. The cork maker later moved on to making machine tools. By 1931, it introduced its first vehicle, which was a three-wheeled rickshaw mini-truck called Mazda Go. Since then, every one of their vehicles have carried the Mazda name. Although, interestingly, the company didn't officially adopt the Mazda company name until 1984. Today, Mazda is known for developing rotary engines and innovative petrol engines. There's been a lot of great Mazdas that's been produced over the years, but there are 5 that especially stand out and showcase the company's character. First on my list is the Mazda MX-5, the world's best-selling sports car of all time. It even won a place in the Guinness Book of World Records in 2000. Early models were sold under different names depending on the market. In Japan, it was called the Unos Roadster, but in America, it was called the Mazda Miata. Being a sports car, the Miata was designed with a classic sports car recipe with front engine and rear wheel drive layout. This allowed for a superior driving experience and almost perfect 50-50 weight distribution ratio. At its core, when Mazda was designing the MX-5, it applied a design philosophy called Jinba Itai, which roughly translates to rider and horse as one. The meaning of Jinba Itai reflects a sense of unity between the rider and his beloved horse. The relationship between horse and rider can be a strong bond, in which the two actually become one. This is the goal Mazda engineers and designers aimed for. By the way, Americans can probably relate to the philosophy of Jinba Itai. A study by the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety and Urban Institute found that the average American spends about 46 minutes a day in their car. That calculates to 280 hours in the car each year, either as a driver or a passenger. So every Mazda owner should not just be comfortable in their saddles, but they should also feel the same oneness with their cars. The term Jinba Itai becomes synonymous with Mazda sports cars. The goal was not speed on a track, but the feeling of joy and pleasure that comes with driving a convertible. Testers and developers drove the prototype regularly, changing settings, measuring the tire surface temperature, and collecting data. Jinba Itai is the feeling of unity, but it depends on the combined operation of all systems. The engine, platform, chassis, body, and transmission are specially designed to make the driver feel like part of the car. Also, Mazda was so keen to keep weight as light as possible that the driving pedals had holes drilled into them, also known as the Graham strategy. Here's a fun fact about the Mazda Miata. If you saw Disney Pixar movie Cars, did you notice that the characters Mia and Tia were based on the MX-5? Look at the characters' names, which combine to sound similar as Miata. Another Mazda that hit my list is a Mazda RX-8. The RX-8 is from the legendary RX series, a line of respected street cars. When Mazda discontinued the RX-7, it introduced the RX-8. It had a similar name, FR layout, manual gearbox option, and rotary engine. But there was a crucial difference. The RX-8 didn't have giant sequential turbos. Mazda had nixed those, instead put in a naturally aspirated rotary. Of course, many RX fans didn't like that at all. It just wasn't raw enough for them. But when we consider that Mazda was shooting for a different target audience with the RX-8, that makes sense. The RX series was generally for people who love Porsches. The RX-7 was for people who could easily afford a Porsche, but the RX-8 was geared for those who couldn't afford one. So it made sense for Mazda to ditch the turbo. The RX-8 also retained more of the natural weight characteristics of a rotary engine. It's unique in its own way because its lightweight design and near-perfect throttle response compared to the RX-7. Overall, the RX-8 is a respectable and practical sports car with a high-revving engine. The RX-8 R3 package gives the car an excellent handling boost and turns it into a corner-carving machine. It's a fast and awesome machine. Only 950 RX-8 R3s were made by Mazda. The RX-8 was the last rotary engine made by Mazda. That's why Mazda scattered several Easter eggs around the RX-8, and you can find rotary triangle shapes all over the car as a tribute to its iconic engine. So, only those who understand the true purpose of the RX-8 can fully appreciate. Next on the list is the Mazda CX5. Mazda created this compact crossover to improve fuel efficiency and driving performance while reducing emissions. It shares the same platform as the Mazda 3 and the Mazda 6. The CX5 outsells the larger CX9, the smaller CX3, Mazda 3, and Mazda 6 sedans, and the Mazda Roadster and Coupe combined. In case you didn't get that, the CX5 outsells everything in Mazda's entire U.S. lineup. It's their bread and butter. That itself should be a hint at how popular the crossover is. The CX5 is unique in many ways. Actually, it was Mazda's first car to feature the Kodo design and philosophy. Kodo translates to soul of movement. It applies Japanese aesthetics, including single dramatic volume lines rather than busy, complex curves. The CX5 was also the first vehicle to feature SkyActiv technology. Mazda developed this vehicle technology to dramatically increase fuel efficiency while still providing the same zoom performance drivers expected from a Mazda. The driving cause was because traditional combustion engines only harness 30% of the fuel's potential energy. Mazda aimed to do better. Mazda SkyActiv engines provide much better fuel efficiency, the key being SkyActiv's higher compression ratio, which means more energy from each drop of fuel. The range of technology includes SkyActiv G, which has free revving characteristics of a gas engine, combined with the fuel economy, torque, and responsiveness of a diesel engine. Then there's SkyActiv D, which is the world's lowest diesel engine compression ratio. Mazda also has SkyActiv Drive, SkyActiv MT, SkyActiv Body, and SkyActiv Chassis. Let's not forget the compact car, the Mazda 3. In Japan, it was known as the Mazda Axela for the first 3 generations, and it made its introduction in the 2004 model. It replaced Familia 323 Protege. A high-performance version of the Mazda 3 was advertised as the Mazda Speed 3 in North America, the Axela in Japan, and Mazda 3 MPS in Europe. The latest model, Mazda 3, features the latest SkyActiv X, SkyActiv G, and SkyActiv D engines. Each provides fast speed control in any driving condition using the spark-controlled compression ignition system, or SPCCI. So, what is SPCCI? This is Mazda's proprietary combustion method that enables a seamless transition between compression ignition and spark ignition. The SPCCI technology worked by taking in a lean, homogeneous air-fuel mixture, then compressing the mixture until it approaches the point at which it will spontaneously explode like in a conventional diesel engine. But then a second injector adds another charge of fuel directly to the spark plug. The secondary charge is lit up by the spark plug, causing the pressure in the cylinder to rise very rapidly to the point where the rest of the fuel is also compressed ignited. Sort of like starting a chain reaction in a hydrogen bomb. The presence of the spark plug allows the engine to double as a spark ignition engine under certain conditions, such as high speeds and under high load compression, and under high load circumstances. The latest SkyActiv X engine, for example, has a very high 16.3 to 1 static compression ratio and operates at extremely lean air-to-fuel mixture. It can operate at ratios more than twice as lean, higher than 30 to 1, which is a scenario in which a spark plug is unable to ignite a lean mixture. In summary, SkyActiv with SPCCI means unprecedented engine response, accelerated torque, better fuel economy, it's about 20 to 30% better, and cleaner emissions than ever before. We'll close today with the Mazda MX-30. This is an electric and a hybrid compact crossover that was first unveiled at the 2019 Tokyo Auto Show. It was also Mazda's first mass-produced electric vehicle. The MX-30 is equipped with clamshell doors, which were previously used in the RX-8 rotary engine sports car. All through the interior, you'll see natural cork surfaces wrapped in a protective film, providing for easy care and maintenance. It's a sophisticated touch that green drivers especially enjoy. The MX-30's electric motor is powered by a 35.5 kilowatt-hour battery. So what does that mean in terms of driving range? Mazda claims it's 124 miles on the WLTP cycle, or a little more if you mainly drive around town. Now, I know you're probably thinking just 124 miles, but don't be surprised. Mazda did some research and found that smaller batteries have significantly lower CO2 emissions over their entire lifespan compared to larger batteries. Same research also suggested that its target buyers don't necessarily need more range from a full charge. So Mazda may never fit a battery larger than 35.5 kilowatt power to the MX-30. Instead, higher range may be obtained by the addition of a rotary range extender unit, which, unlike the RX-8, will extend the range and save fuel. Mazda has remained committed for a decade now to bringing back the rotary engine as a range extender. But in the past couple of years, company officials have finally hinted it was nearly ready for production. Mazda announced that the battery electric MX-30 will be available for the first time in California this fall, followed by the range extended version with a rotary engine coming later. The American MX-30 models will be powered by 144 horsepower horsepower electric engine located on the front axle with a 35.5 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery. Mazda is promising that DC fast charger can charge the battery up to 80% in 36 minutes. It'll partner with ChargePoint to provide on-the-go charging to American customers. The crossover will be available in both a fully electric model as well as a hybrid plug-in with a rotary engine. So this gives you the best of both worlds. A plug-in electric car with 124 miles of EV range and a rotary range without limitations on top of that. Honda has a long history of successful cars under its belt, but it wasn't always smooth sailing, and they've seen some bumps along the way. But they learned from them, and that's how they got to where they are now. Engine technology. So what's unique about Honda compared to other brands? For starters, they have a reputation for really good engines. Some of their most notable engines include the B Series, K20 and K24 engines, and the K20 C1 engine we see in the Civic Type R. Their key is the engineering and production. For example, Honda engine parts are forged and made at a higher quality. They're so well forged that you can run nitrous on a stock motor, which of course can cause the rings and seals in the engine to burn, but the parts themselves would be able to withstand it, which just goes to show how well made the parts are. The reality is that most people don't have the budget to buy a high-performance car and then invest even more to customize it for racing. That's why consumers prefer to purchase entry-level, four-cylinder cars, which they then modify. This is a market where Honda has dominated, its engines being really standout units when it comes to building high-performance vehicles. Also key is that different engine variations can be created on one platform. Honda's two main performance platforms include the B Series and the K Series. The B Series, for instance, has seen several forms over the years. It's a family of inline fours, and this is the series that saw Honda's first VTEC system in some models. The B16 has been seen in 6 different variations. Honda first introduced the K Series in 2001. It was a 4-cylinder, 4-stroke engine that replaced the B Series engines. The K Series engine is equipped with double overhead cam valve trains and benefits from the use of roller rockers to reduce friction. It uses an ignition system that is distributorless and has coil unplugged. It eliminates the need for a traditional distributor-based ignition timing system and instead uses a computer-controlled system that allows the ECU to control the ignition timing based on various sensor inputs. The cylinders of the K-Series engine also have cast iron sleeves similar to the B-Series, so they don't wear out internally too fast. VTEC technology was first used on the K-Series engines in 2001 and found its way stateside in 2002. There are 2 versions of the VTEC system on the K-Series, and both can come with variable timing control on the intake cam. So, what is VTEC? Put simply, the system allows you to improve volumetric efficiency of a 4-stroke internal combustion engine. The result is higher performance at high RPM and lower fuel consumption at lower RPM. It's one of the engineering marvels by Honda. Let's talk about the 5 best cars Honda's ever made. Of course, we'll start off with the legendary Honda Civic Type R. Honda revealed the prototype at the Paris Motor Show in 2016. Then in April 2017 at Nürburgring Nordschleife racetrack in Germany. It completed a lap time of 7 minutes 43 seconds, which is almost 7 seconds faster than its predecessor. This set a new record for the fastest front-wheel drive production vehicle. It held the record for 2 years until it was broken by the Renault Megane RS Trophy R. The Civic Type R also set new front-wheel drive lap records at other tracks, including Magny-Cours, Spa, Francorchamps, Silverstone, and Mount Panorama. Then in 2020, the limited edition Civic Type R beat the Megane's front-wheel drive lap record on the Suzuka circuit by 1.5 seconds. These victories were all due to the new K20C1 engine. This 2.0-liter direct injection turbocharged engine puts out 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. The Civic Type R has a low center of gravity and also better stability with the newly developed dual-axis front suspension. According to Honda, this multi-link rear setup improves lateral stiffness for better handling and also reduces rigidity lengthwise for a better ride. The car's geometry at the front end allows it to turn faster and understeer is nearly eliminated. Also noteworthy is that the Type R's unconventional triple exhaust does more than just remove fumes. Under high exhaust loads, all 3 pipes increase exhaust flow and sound. Under moderate load conditions, The smaller center pipe pulls in air to reduce cabin rumble and improve passenger comfort. By the way, did you know that during the post-war era, Soichiro Honda and his team first made motorcycle engines before they got into cars? By 1964, the Honda Motor Company was the largest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. Since then, Honda's been involved in other transportation vehicles such as jet skis, ATVs, airplanes, mountain bikes, and even lawn equipment and solar panels. They even created a robot called Asimo, so you can see the breadth and depth of their engineering and technology. In terms of engines, Honda engines have won more Indy 500 races than any other manufacturer. This also applies to aircraft engines. For example, take a look at the HA420 Honda Jet powered by Honda engine. The combination of lightweight materials, aerodynamics, and efficient engines have given the Honda Jet up to 20% higher fuel efficiency compared to similar aircraft. As of March 2020, the 150 Honda Jets in service have flown 40,000 hours with a scheduling reliability of 99.7%. Talking about reliability, there was a man in Maine, Joe Locicero, who had a 1990 Honda Accord, and he clocked over 1 million miles in 2011. There was no clunker. To celebrate this incredible milestone, Honda threw Joe a big parade, gave him a brand new 2012 Accord. All of this speaks to how much Honda has succeeded in creating reliable and trouble-free engines. The second noteworthy Honda is the Odyssey. It was originally conceived and designed in Japan after the economic crisis of the 1990s. Severe restrictions were imposed on the size and overall concept of the vehicle. This led to the production of the minivan in an existing factory with minimal modification. In 1994, Honda debuted its minivan, the Odyssey. It was built on the Accord platform with a 4-cylinder engine, anti-lock disc brakes, wishbone suspension, and a 4-speed automatic transmission. By September 1997, more than 300,000 Odyssey vans had been sold. Believe it or not, it became the fastest-selling new Honda car, breaking the record previously held by the Civic. Here's a fun fact about the Odyssey. Did you know that its development was publicly canceled before it was ready for market release? The designers claimed that they were developing a private jet instead. However, Honda secretly continued working on the minivan with an underground team. When it finally was released to the public, former British Grand Prix driver Jonathan Palmer described the Odyssey as handling as equal to any executive sedan. By the way, many greats also faced some failures. One of Honda's failures was the 03 Honda Insight. As they say, there are failures and then there are disasters. Coming to market just a few months before its only major competitor, the 2003 first-generation Prius, the 2003 Honda Insight was expected to make a big impact. Acclaimed as the first hybrid to ever successfully hit the market, the Insight unfortunately struggled to keep up with the hype. Ultimately, it suffered from very poor sales and failed. Impractical, ill-conceived systems and strong competition from the Prius drove this car into the grave. But to its credit, the thing the Insight got right away was fuel economy. It achieved a fuel consumption rating of 52 miles per gallon for city highway combined. But despite impressive fuel economy, it wasn't enough. The next all-time best Honda, of course, is the Honda Pilot. In 2002, when Honda unveiled its large sports utility vehicle, it surprised many. Part of the reason is because Honda had been long known for creating some of the most fuel-efficient sedans on the planet. But now it was entering the large vehicle arena for the first time. In North America, the Pilot is Honda's largest SUV with 3-row seating. Unlike truck-based SUVs, the Honda Pilot is really a passenger car-based model with a one-piece design. Actually, it was one of the first crossovers available on the market. With seating possible for up to 8 passengers, the Pilot combined the best of carrying capability, light off-road ability, and a well-equipped interior. Do you know why the Pilot was invented? It was because Toyota came out with a Highlander and consumers wanted a full-size SUV. The Pilot was Honda's response to market demand. By the way, if you're looking for a used Honda Pilot, the model year 2015 is a good one to consider. That model scored high marks for reliability, affordability, and comfort. In fact, the 2015 model had the best reliability rating of all Honda Pilots since 2005. That said, there have been 3 NHTSA recalls for the model, all of them related to a potential issue with the airbag. So before purchasing a 2015 Pilot, it would be smart to confirm that the airbag issues have been already addressed. Another model year to consider is the 2008 Pilot. It was a good model year and had very few complaints. Another all-time best by Honda is the Accord. No surprise there. Following the well-received launch of the Civic, Honda began developing a larger companion model. Honda's initial concept called for a larger, quieter, more powerful, and more comfortable car. It was to be a 4-door sedan with a 2,000cc inline-6 engine. For the new model, Honda chose the name Accord to convey Honda's commitment to harmony between people, society, and the car. If you're interested in buying a used Accord, the ones to consider include the 2013, 2015, 2017, and 2019. The fewest number of complaints were received in those years. On the other hand, the model with the most complaints was the 2008 model. The most commonly reported issue for 08 Accord was premature brake wear. Last but not least in our lineup of top Hondas is, of course, the top-selling Honda CR-V. Shortly after Toyota introduced the RAV4, Honda responded by launching the CR-V in 1997. The CR-V's name stands for Compact Recreational Vehicle, and it was originally sold in a single trim level that included, of all things, a hidden picnic table. Yes, every Honda CR-V built between 1997 and 2006 came with a folding plastic picnic table under the cargo hold, perfect for eating or on the go. Do you know how quickly the CR-V depreciates? A CR-V in good condition, with an average mileage of 13,500 per year, will depreciate roughly 41% after 5 years. This places a 5-year-old CR-V's resale value at 59% of the original price. So if you're looking for a used CR-V, you have a starting benchmark, at least before pandemic, where they all went wild. Now if you're looking for a used CR-V, reliable model years include 2005, 2006, 2016. There have been relatively low volume of complaints about these models, and overall, they've been generally reliable and provide good handling. Toyota has a reputation for making reliable cars that last. According to Consumer Reports annual ratings, Toyota has an overall reliability score of 78 out of 100. This high reliability score is a combination of several factors. Let's dive into what makes Toyota so reliable. Many car manufacturers aggressively compete with each other to introduce new features as quickly as possible. But Toyota operates with a different perspective. They prefer to invest time to develop and refine new features that actually work. For Toyota, it's not simply about being the first to make headlines or the first to release. They care more about quality. Toyota is known for precision engineering, so it's in no rush to be the first to innovate technology. The company only introduces new features after sufficient research and development has been done, and the new features are deemed safe and reliable from every aspect and angle. This increased attention to detail also means the company never rushes into production process for any of its vehicles. That goes for every one of its SUVs, trucks, and cars. If Toyota has doubts about the functionality of a new technology, or it's unsure if it'll withstand the test of time, the company will do more research as needed to validate the technology. Many car companies often emphasize visual appeal more than function. But for Toyota, purpose is more important than form. Its vehicles stand out for their understated elegance. Toyota are one of the most dependable, reliable, and safest cars on the road. Models like the Camry, Prius, and Yaris have received rave reviews from critics and buyers alike. The company's focus on reliability and fuel economy has earned it a stellar reputation and a loyal customer base. The stats show it. More than 85% of all Toyotas sold in the last 15 years are still on the road today. Simply put, Toyotas just last longer. These vehicles that have withstood the test of time are silent witnesses of Toyota's quality. Since Toyotas that are regularly maintained rarely break down, you spend less on repairs during the car's long lifespan. So how does Toyota consistently achieve high-quality standards? We have to look at their production to see that. Production requires a combination of automated processes with human intelligence and problem solving. In my previous video series on the history of Toyota, I talked about Jidoka. Let me briefly summarize it here. Toyota's Jidoka principle is a fundamental part of its production system. Jidoka translates into English as automation with human intelligence. This principle can be divided into two parts: mechanical Jidoka and human Jidoka. The first involves the ability to design equipment that identifies problems, immediately alerts when problems arise, and automatically stops production if needed. The other aspect, human Jidoka, is the assembly operators themselves, who are equipped with the means to stop production flow whenever they notice anything suspicious. This prevents waste that can result from the production of defective product. The principle of Jidoka throughout the entire manufacturing process allows it to be monitored, self-inspected, and immediately corrected. The cause of a problem problem or issue is then evaluated so that future incidences won't happen again. You can see how production slowly but surely gets perfected with this workflow. Toyota also applies the Kaizen principle. The word means continuous improvement in English. It helps to ensure maximum quality, eliminate waste, improve efficiency. Each production team member is empowered to identify areas of improvement and suggest solutions. Most people have heard of the just-in-time principle. The primary goal of just-in-time is to save warehouse space and unnecessary cost carrying. Components and parts are organized, and they only get delivered at the moment they're needed. That's why individual Toyotas can be built to order. But now, let's get going and look at the 5 best Toyotas of all time. Let's start with the Land Cruiser. Its history dates back to 1950. Would it surprise you that it was originally developed for the military? Japan's National Police Reserve Force made a request for a locally made, rugged, all-wheel drive vehicle. At the time, Toyota showed off a small truck capable of high performance known as the Toyota BJ. Its 3.4-liter inline-6 engine produced 75 horsepower with plenty of low-speed torque. The following year, the Toyota BJ proved its resilience when Toyota test driver Ichiro Taira drove one up Japan's Mount Fuji, reaching the 6th of 10 checkpoints. It had driven further up the mountain than any car ever had before. A few years later, Toyota decided to rename the BJ. A new name was proposed by Toyota's Director of Technology, Hanji Omihara, who noticed that the car cruised effortlessly over rough terrain. And that's how the BJ became known as the Land Cruiser. Almost 70 years later, in the summer of 2019, Toyota would sell their 10 millionth Land Cruiser in Australia. Actually, Australia happens to be the largest market for the Land Cruiser. In fact, Toyota sells over 40,000 Land Cruisers each year in Australia alone. Let me tell you why the Land Cruiser's on my list. This vehicle is packed with many different features that appeal to car buyers. It's designed for on-road, off-road, and anywhere in between. It has high ratings for strong towing capability and astonishing 8,100 pounds. And it'll continue to perform even after years of use. You get the convenience of a full-size SUV with the working capabilities of a truck. You get a powerful V8 engine that produces over 350 horsepower. Plus, its safety rating has always been above average. A Land Cruiser that's been regularly maintained has an average lifespan of more than 300,000 miles or 25 years of service. Some well-maintained Land Cruisers have been known to hit 600,000 miles. You just won't find any other cars that still run that way after that many miles. Overall, this vehicle is a beast, and only a relatively few problems have occurred since its first generation. If you're looking at a used Land Cruiser, you might want to avoid the years 2005 and 2016. The biggest problem in them included rough gear changes, especially at low speeds. A few owners also complained of grabby brakes, meaning they were soft with a lot of brake pedal travel, and then bite suddenly. In addition, 1998 and 1999 Land Cruisers suffered from front differential failure and harsh climate. But aside from these years, other models have been reported reliable. Another all-time best by Toyota is the Camry. The name Camry comes from the Japanese word kanmori, meaning crown. This follows the Toyota tradition of naming major models with words associated with crown and royalty, starting with the Toyota Crown in 1955. The Camry was launched in the early 1980s, and it's become one of the most popular models from Toyota, especially in America. In 1997, it surpassed the Ford Taurus to become the best-selling car in the United States, also making it one of the most successful Toyotas of all time. The Camry's reliability and exceptional resale value are the main reasons why it's the most popular sedan. In the United States, the Toyota Camry has outperformed all other sedans for 18 consecutive years. If you're looking for a used Camry, the best model years to consider are the ones between 2012 and 2017, and also the year 2019. For starters, the number of recalls for these model years is incredibly low. Consumer Reports gave these a perfect reliability score, and customer satisfaction rating was above average. As for complaints, it was minor, mostly related to the air conditioning, heating system, and interior accessories. Next up, we have the Toyota Corolla. When the Corolla was first introduced in 1966, its ride to the top was rather quick, becoming the world's best-selling car by 1974. And by 1997, it was the best-selling nameplate, even trumping the iconic Volkswagen Beetle. More than 40 million Corollas have been sold to date. If you're looking for a used Corolla, you might want to be cautious with the 2002 and 2009 model. Owners have reported the most engine problems with those years in particular and have a reputation for being clunkers. Also, you might want to reconsider getting white Corollas, especially those painted Blizzard Pearl or Super White. Those shades have been known to fall off on some cars due to a paint defect. The Toyota RAV4 is also on my top list, and it all started in 1994 with the RAV4. The first generation model was designed to combine the capabilities of an SUV with the handling and fuel economy of a compact car. Almost 30 years later, the RAV4 has changed a lot in terms of design, but its reliability remains high, and that's why it's one of the main reasons for its exceptional resale value. If you're interested in buying a used RAV4, then the 2016 model is probably one of the best RAV4 models worth buying. We're talking about perfect reliability score, even beating newer 2017 and 18 models. Of course, this does not mean that later years aren't worthy of attention, but personally I would choose the 2016 if you can find one. It scored 86 on J.D. Power's 100-point scoring system, which takes into account owners' opinions. Plus, the RAV4 took first place in the J.D. Power Top 10 for SUVs. Of course, Toyota Prius is on my top list. It was introduced in Japan in 1997, but it gained more interest and popularity with the second generation. It was then that the Prius solidified its reputation as one of the most reliable cars. It's extremely rare for Prius owners to experience serious problems, and this applies to older models as well as the current generation. Generally, the 2013 to 15 models and 2017 to 2020 models are a good bet. There are some reports of problems with the 2017 and 18 models after 100,000 miles. But those issues were rare and low severity. And you can't go wrong with older models from 2000 and 2003. There have been hardly any complaints with those. The 2004 Prius has a couple dozen complaints, but they were relatively minor, mostly having to do with small defects later in its life. From 2013 to 2015, the models are okay and not a terrible choice.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.